Hi, it's Jennifer, and welcome back to my weekly Facebook Live broadcast about an interesting topic that hopefully will help you to live an amazing life. Um, First thing I want to remind everybody is that if you have not already, to go and follow the Facebook page, which is Dr. Jennifer Edwards Coaching. And on that Facebook page, there is a button where you can, I think it says sign up. You can sign up for my weekly email. The weekly email is also about various topics, usually then relating to the Facebook broadcast that I do the next day. So last week we talked about values and the concept of personal or core values, which are beliefs, belief systems, they're principles that we hold very important to us. And values will help to guide our behaviors. They help to guide our decisions in life. And actually can be very useful because they can help us to understand when things are not feeling very good. Also, if we are in a situation where we're looking at a decision, looking at what values are at play on two sides of, a situation can help us to say, wow, now I can see why I was having a hard time. I've got these values here and I've got these values here, and they're in conflict. Like, which ones do I pick? And so at least looking at it that way can help making choices sometimes a little bit easier. So today we're talking, to continue the conversation about values, we're talking about what I call values challenges. And values challenges are when we find ourselves in situations, jobs, relationships, any of that situation where things just don't feel right. Things are not 100% aligned or matching up with our values. Now, typically we're not really conscious of that as we go through life. And so what I'm suggesting is that by starting to examine this more and explore this, we can start to bring a consciousness to it and say, wow, this particular relationship, whether it's a coworker, a family member, a partner, in this particular area is not really working. What value might I have that's not really fitting right here? Or, if you're at work and particularly, in the veterinary world, a lot of people struggle in a lot of ways. Well, what exactly is it? We can say, oh, I just feel exhausted and I'm burnt out and I'm miserable. Okay, well, let's take that and put that aside. Not that that's not important, but why? Like, what is it about what you're currently experiencing is not being met? What's important to you? So you may just say, I'm burnt out. Well, there's not a whole lot to do with burnt out. What do you do with that? But if you can look closer and say, well, gee, at this job, I'm finding that the quality of care is not what I want. I have a strong value around compassion or love, or I have a strong value around communication that's not present, or I have a strong value around friendship and camaraderie, and everybody's at odds with each other. Like, there could be a million different things, and none of them are right or wrong. And what's important for one person might not be important for another person. So it's really about us finding for ourselves, like, what is it about this particular job or this particular practice or this particular relationship that is causing you distress? And sometimes we can consciously know, I am not happy in this, I'm not happy in that. And sometimes we're in situations and it's nothing more than that feeling in the pit of our stomach where we're like, something just doesn't feel right. If something doesn't feel right, you should always listen to that. And then the next question is, why? What is it? What is it about that person? What is it about that new employee or that new coworker? What is it about that new person you're dating? What is it about something your friend is doing that's just not sitting right with you? So it really offers a very broad context for exploration. One of the things that I do like to, I don't want to use the word caution people about, is when we're in a values challenge and things are not how we want them to be, our go-to is make wrong. And that's really easy. And trust me, I've been there, I've done it. And it really doesn't help Now, that's not to say that person isn't wrong. And that's a whole separate conversation of like ultimately deciding right, wrong. But let's flip it around. It's not so much about needing to make them wrong. It's really ultimately about needing to be right. And the need to be right about a lot of things in life, and we see that everywhere in our society now. Everybody is right about everything, right? Somebody puts something on Facebook and the rest of the world is like, and it's like, whoa, like everybody's just right about everything. When we focus on the need to be right, it actually strips away our power to really figure anything out that's important to us. And that's not to say you're not right. Again, I want to make that very clear. It's when it's about being right. If you understand the difference, you're just right. I mean, if somebody's abusing an animal and you have strong value about that, which would be very common, many people would agree you're right. So I'm not talking about situations where you theoretically are right, and that's arguable about a lot of things, but it's about when it's about being right and the need to be right. Because when you go through life needing to be right about things and therefore make others wrong, because how can you be right if you're not by default making people wrong or situations wrong? You're only hurting yourself. You're the one who's upset. You're the one who's all agitated and upset and pissed off and talking and spreading toxicity around. There's a saying that I love, and I think it's so perfect here. They say, you drink the poison and you expect the other people to die. Well, that's not the way it works. So when we bring negative energy into our lives, we call that catabolic energy. It's a down energy. It's hostile. It doesn't feel good. It's gossip. It's mean. It's anything that is just not serving a purpose of creating. That's only hurting yourself. And so that need to be right is one of those, for the sake of being right, is one of those catabolic energy situations that really does not serve. So when we're faced with a values challenge, i.e. any situation that doesn't serve us, we can just be like, they, it, he, she, whoever are wrong and I'm right. Or we can look at it more discerningly and say, okay, what's at play here? And how am I going to consciously choose to respond? Now, a conscious response, is different than a reaction, right? The reaction is blah, emotion, yell, scream, whatever, talk, gossip. Okay, it's not wrong to do that. It just might not serve you as well. When we have a response to something, that's something that is more thought out. It's something that we can look at, and it's not always possible. Sometimes we're human, we just react. Okay, then maybe the response comes later. And so when we're looking at something that's not in alignment with our values, we can then look at it and choose to respond. And in general, there are 3, I'd say, categories of response. Now, obviously, there's no right answer for everyone, and every person in every situation is going to be different. But when we see that this is at play, we can, the first response choice is to just go with it, to let go of our value and just go with it. And we may do that because we choose to. Now, if we're doing that because we're repressing what's important to us, or because we're not setting boundaries, or we're being taken advantage of, probably not the healthiest response. However, there are some times where things just really aren't that important. So for example, if somebody has a strong value around orderliness, or a strong value around their physical environment, and how it feels and how it appears. And then they find that they're on vacation with another family and they are slobs. And the first day and a half, they're like out of their mind. They're like, I can't handle this. I cannot be with these people for a week. They're talking with their partner. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to go crazy if she spills one more thing on the floor and doesn't wipe it up. Like, wow. And then they might say, you know what? What's at play here? Why am I so upset? Okay, my physical environment, orderliness is important to me. I'm not going to give up that that's important to me, but for the sake of this vacation being nice, I'm just going to choose to just not worry about it. And if it's bothering me enough, I'll just go pick it up. But for the sake of getting through 5 days and having a good time and having everything be kumbaya, I'm just going to choose to just let it go. So that's a situation where somebody's not giving up their value, but they may, in a situation, consciously choose to just let it go and to go with whatever is in front of them. The second possible response would be a compromise. So we all have situations where we might make an exception. You know what? I don't really like this. I don't feel good about it. This one time, I will do it, but don't ask me for it again. That may be a situation that can happen. There are times, and then the example that I was thinking of for this was if somebody has a really strong value around loyalty. So that can create a big values challenge if they're in a work environment where they are miserable and they really, really don't agree with how things are being done, whether it's in veterinary medicine or any other field. They're staying because they're loyal and they're miserable. When they step back and they look at, well, why am I miserable? And they say, oh boy, what values are being compromised or challenged in the way things are happening here? And they can say, my value around honesty, my value around compassion, my value around the way people are treated, fairness, like, whatever. You can just list off whatever. That's just not present for them. That just really makes them upset. Then why am I still here? Well, I can't leave. Loyalty. So all of a sudden you have this scale. You've got all these values that are being challenged. You've got a strong value that's being fulfilled, the loyalty value. Well, then the person can then say, okay, I'm in charge of my life. I get to pick. And if I choose to stay because loyalty is winning, there's nothing wrong with that. But at least now I know that I'm choosing that. It takes away that victimness, that it's all happening to me. Every day I walk in this building, I know that I'm choosing to deal with all of this to fulfill this. Now, one day that might flip and they might go, you know what? I'm going to compromise my value of loyalty in this situation because my value of self-care is more important. So again, there's no right or wrong here. It's not about, well, this person should do this or should do that. It's about having an awareness that then leads to being able to make a conscious choice versus being at the effect of things just happening to you, i.e. being a victim, which is something I'll probably do a whole nother live broadcast about another day, because that's a very important topic. So getting back to values challenges, the third possible response to a values challenge is to stand your ground. It is not wavering. No, I will not do it. I will not participate in it. I'm just, no, period. And if you have to lose friends over it, if you have to leave a job over it, if you have to break up with a partner over it, if you have to get half the neighborhood mad at you over it, whatever, you're not compromising because you feel that strongly. And that would be the types of values that, are just who you are. I would hope you're not going to see a child being mistreated or a kid being bullied on a playground and then just be like, well, I guess this time it's okay, right? No, that's a value. No, it's not being compromised. There may be certain things associated with religious beliefs that it is no, I'm not compromising that value and I don't care. So that's the third possible response. So response one is that we completely set our value aside and go with whatever's bothering us or the situation, which at that point may stop bothering you once you make that conscious choice and you're not a victim. 2 would be a compromise, and 3 would be nope, standing my ground, this is it. So I offer this because it provides an opportunity to explore. Anything and everything that happens in your life is a learning opportunity. Everything. The bad, the good, the happy, the sad, the I love it, the I hate it. It does not matter. It is all an opportunity to learn. And situations such as I've discussed are no different. And the more we can explore the more we can learn about ourselves. Like we might say, gee, I actually never realized I had such a strong value about that until that really bothered me. And I looked at it and thought, wow. Or the opposite. We might be going along with something and be like, I never thought I'd be in this situation. I like it. I actually really thought I had a value that did not go along with this, but I'm actually having fun. So we can learn a lot about ourselves and learn more about our values by exploring, which then help us in the future, which then help us to know where we want to go, what we want to do, what choices we want to make. What ultimately what it comes down to is, what do you want your life to look like? And when our lives are such that, minus minor variations, because we don't live in nirvana, but in general, big picture, the things in your life, the relationships, the jobs, the house, the whatever, are aligned with your values, or at least your most important values, that's where you can be happy. That's where peace comes from. That's where a lack of conflict comes from. That's where camaraderie, that's where teamwork and practices come from. And I say that because when you consciously choose to stay in a situation that's not aligned with your value, it being your choice takes away the stress, takes away the angst, takes away the anger every day, because it's your choice. And that's okay. X, Y, and Z about this situation isn't perfect, but I'm choosing it. Okay, I'm just going to deal with it because I love all these other things. And I've chosen that. That's not perfection, but that's where peace comes from. So I offer that to you, to just think about it. It's about awareness. It's about presence. It's about always being willing to look and to learn here, because anything that's about out there will not serve you. And this is just another example. Your values are you. They're not right. They're not wrong. They're yours. You own them, and you can act and behave in accordance with them and what makes you feel happy and satisfied in your life. So I hope that was helpful for you. Certain topics such as this are of particular interest to me. This is one that I do find fascinating, and that I do find in my life that come into my consciousness and my awareness, I wouldn't say daily, but fairly frequently. And when I have situations where I'm not feeling very good or I'm upset, it's one of the first go-tos. And I start to say, oh, I can see now. I'm really pissed because blah, blah, blah. And I can see where that comes into play. Ultimately, it's about me and you. It's about you. So thank you very much for watching. And like I said in the beginning, please feel free to like the Facebook page, sign up for the email list, share with your friends, comment below. If you watch the video later, comment below, what insights opened up, what did you realize, how might you apply this to your life? And I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Bye.